Rumors persist about the Cincinnati Reds possibly looking to trade Hunter Greene. We'll tell you why they got the wrong guy out of this starting rotation for a trade chip.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. His name is Jeff Carr. We love baseball. We love these Cincinnati Reds. We're lifelong Reds fans. We have been talking about this team in podcast form for a combined 14 years. That's a long time. On today's show, we're going to look at the Reds minor league system. We're going to look at the plethora of pitching, the abundance of young, talented arms around here, and ask the question, is it time for the Reds to package some guys up and make some trades? We're also going to look at the big league rotation and say, if not Hunter Greene, as Jeff just alluded to a minute ago, who else should the Reds trade in order to bring in somebody from the outside to fill a team need? But where we're going to begin today's show is talking about the aforementioned Hunter Greene, because Nick Krall was directly asked if the Reds were going to trade Hunter Greene, if the Reds were considering trading Hunter Greene. And the answer really didn't answer the question, but it kind of answered the question. We're going to get into all of that on today's show that is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets back to use across the app. Download the FanTime app today. Got a little tripped up there, Jeff. All right, let's start with Hunter Greene, because as I said, Nick Krall got the question last week during the media session, and he was specifically asked, are you considering trading Hunter Greene? And a difference here from how he answered the, are you considering moving Elly De La Cruz? Because he was like, absolutely not. No, don't tell Elly that you even asked me that question. I would never in a million years consider doing anything that Elly De La Cruz didn't like. That was the answer, kind of, probably, we got from Nick Krall. Really, he just said, no, I'm not considering trading Elly De La Cruz or moving Elly De La Cruz. But then ask, are you considering trading Hunter Greene? It's like, well, I haven't really talked to anybody about that. But, that wasn't a no, Jeff.
Right. It was one of the Nick Krall keep it close to the vest answers, the one that he's not trying to give anything away so that people don't, have expectations that then get shattered for a little bit. So I would say that he did two things. He opened the door, or he left the door open for the possibility, but he also tried to make it seem as though guys aren't being shopped right now because they actually can't be. Like, they can't trade until the World Series is over. So obviously that's not a thing at the moment. It's just, it makes sense to be looking at a starting pitcher on this roster, on this organization, and say the Reds could trade that guy and get some help in the lineup. And for some reason, it's Hunter Greene that is being looked at. And the reasoning for that is right now, he is the highest paid Red. After arbitration is concerned, that will change. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But right now, he's the highest paid Red. There's also a school of thought that says he's not had a healthy season yet. We haven't seen Hunter Greene throw 30, even 28, even 26 starts yet in a season, or 27 starts, I think. So with all of that being said, if you can get what you need for trading Hunter Greene, then that might actually be prudent. But I still don't think that's the case, because I don't think we've seen his best yet.
Yeah, he's still a work in progress. And you're right. The biggest knock against Hunter Greene is availability. It's not his stuff. It's not his ace presence. It's not his fire. It's his availability. Down to 19 starts in 2025, which, by the way, is a major league career low for him. He started 24 games his first year, 22 the next, 26 in 2024, and 19 last year. He did get better, though, between 2024 and 2025. You can look at some statistics that may mean something to you, may not. In 2024, he led the league with 19 hit batters. In 2025, he only hit 2 guys. His strikeouts per 9 was up to 11 per 9 strikeouts per 9. His walks per 9 was down to a career best 2.2. He's getting better. He's continuing to improve. I think the thing you're going to have to accept is that he is a firebrand of a pitcher that is absolutely going to just throw the baseball as hard as he possibly can. And that means that probably peak Hunter Greene gets you those 26 to 27 starts. We probably won't ever see a 30 start season from Hunter Greene. And I think with the other numbers that he puts up, that's probably okay.
Right, because he's so elite. Like when he's on the mound, he's the ace, period. That's why we had the discussion of, who is the ace of the staff in the Reds in 2025, because Andrew Abbott pitched so many more games than did Hunter Greene. And Andrew Abbott was really good in the games that he pitched, but Hunter Greene was elite in the games that he pitched. And so for that reason, though, what you just said, I think if I'm an opposing general manager, like let's just say for kicks and giggles, this isn't even a thing, but just for conversation's sake, Nick Krall's on the phone with Alex Anthopoulos from the Atlanta Braves, and they say, you know what? How about Hunter Greene for Ronald Acuna? And as fun as that sounds, if I'm Alex Anthopoulos, I'll be like, so how many starts did he make last year? And now that obviously Nick Krall could come back at that because Ronald Acuna's had some durability things. But I'm saying, like, just for example here, like the Reds are looking for a difference maker in the outfield and they offer up Hunter Greene. I don't know that Alex Anthopoulos or that the hypothetical general manager in this situation does that, because they look at the durability of Hunter Greene and they say, I can take a little bit off the asking price by saying, will he ever pitch as I need him to?
Yeah. Hunter Greene's availability probably necessitates a throw in. You're right. There probably needs to be and. Whereas if Hunter Greene was good for 30 starts, this conversation would be drastically different. But his stuff is so good that I think that throw in would not be that big a deal. He's probably the highest value starting pitchers that the Reds have right now, even with the availability weaknesses. And for that reason, I don't think he's the guy that they should be trading. I am not okay, really. I mean, I am a firm believer that you entertain conversations and that there is really nobody that's ever truly untouchable. There's guys that may cost you to break your franchise if you want to come and trade for them, but there aren't any guys that are absolutely not, no matter what you offer, I'm not trading him. Those guys shouldn't exist, especially for this Cincinnati Reds baseball team. But if we're talking about a talent that would be hard for you to come in and acquire, in my mind, Hunter Greene's on that list, right? There's 3 or 4 dudes on that list for me, and Hunter Greene's probably near the top of that list.
It's probably not like I will take him and you can have whatever you want. There's going to be a very interesting caveat to what the opposing general manager will say. I would like to flip this because I think if Hunter Greene had made 30 starts in one of his seasons in his career right now, that this rumor wouldn't exist because he would be untouchable.
Yep, absolutely. If he would be ace one, nobody would be talking about it.
Because he likely would have won a Cy Young. He would have been right there if he hadn't. It'd be like number 2 on that voting that year if he makes 30 starts. And that's kind of the separation here where it's just like, if he had made 30 starts, nobody would be thinking about, do we trade him? Everybody would be thinking about, how can we extend this current contract that he already has that keeps him on the team if the Reds pick up the club option in 2029 through 2029. Like, how much longer could we keep a guy like that? As of right now, there's people that are trying to get hot takey about the fact that his durability is in question, and because of that, they can make him a trade chip. And I just don't see one equaling the other and bringing in the satisfaction that we are all looking for here. I think that there are plenty of other options on this roster that you could do that with. And I think that Hunter Greene is one that it would just, I think it would just be too bold of a move.
But Jeff, you say that there are guys that are in the major league roster right now that are starting pitchers that would have some trade value that could help this team, and in the surplus era could be made available by the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to talk about who that is coming up next. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, people just don't know what they have. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you so that you don't have to. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Jeff and I both hate spreadsheets. Monarch makes it easy to see where you're spending your money, where your finances are going. It's very easy to just tap that credit card, right? You want it, you buy it, you tap. You don't even really know what you spent. Monarch brings the picture together clearly so you know what is going on with your finances. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB.
Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your everyday routine. If you aren't an everydayer, we invite you to hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube or on your favorite podcasting app. We're always talking Reds baseball right here all throughout the offseason. And by the way, coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to dive into Noelvi Marte and why he is your opening day right fielder and why you can have confidence in that. And if you missed yesterday's conversation, I had a great conversation about Ellie De La Cruz and why shortstop is not the best position for him for this Reds team. All right, Steve. So when it comes to the idea of trading from the surplus, the Reds have a surplus of starting pitching. They have a lot of good options there, whether it be future options, current options, what have you. There's definitely some guys to look at that are not Hunter Greene, that would not hurt as much as Hunter Greene, and who should bring in talent that makes a difference for this team. And we start with a guy who is due to make more money than him in 2026 because of arbitration.
Yeah, we're going to start with Brady Singer. And for all of the reasons why we liked the Reds trading Jonathan India and bringing Brady Singer in here, all the reasons that we liked Brady Singer in this rotation, all the reasons that we thought he was a great fit as like number 3 guy, Mr. Durability, Mr. Availability. That's the same reason why he's the best of these trade chips, because he's not one of the young guns. He's not one of the guys that you're really looking at as a long-term member of this team. He's going into his final year of arbitration. This is the time when we've talked anyway, under the Nick Krall new way we're going to do things around here, is the time that you're going to trade people. And if you're not going to give Brady Singer a long-term contract extension, they're not. If you're not going to do that, then this is the trade window for him. So for those reasons, he's the guy I'm shopping. And maybe you package him up with another guy from the minor leagues, and you could actually go out and get a bona fide contributing outfielder for this team. You could go out and get a couple really good bullpen arms to bring in and stabilize the 7th and the 8th innings for this team in this kind of deal. Is it a press conference kind of trade? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe if you package the right package and bring an outfielder in, it could be a press conference kind of trade. But odds are this is one of those trades where, a rarity in baseball, nobody's really going to win it. Everybody involved is going to get a little bit better. Everybody gets something they need to address an area of their squad that they think needs to be better for 2026. This is one of those deals. And I think Brady Singer is the perfect piece for the Reds to send away in order to bring in somebody to help make the team better in 2026.
It's the kind of trade that, a national baseball writer would be like, "Ooh, that's a smart move." Or another national baseball writer might be, "Ooh, that's a risky move, trading a guy that durable," or whatever it might be. It's going to be right there on the cusp of both of those opinions. And the reason that we talk about Brady Singer is something that Nick Krall said last offseason. Whenever he was talking about the possibility of trades and all this other stuff, he told reporters back then, he was like, "We have had conversations about acquiring different players, and everybody is talking about, they want major league talent for major league talent." Well, guess what? The Reds have that. And they have the ability to move that this offseason. This is no longer a situation where it's like, okay, if you trade that guy, you are now crippling that position, or you are bringing in a major question mark or you're putting a major question mark on that position. They have guys they can backfill that with, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But it really feels like this is the opportunity, because Brady Singer in his 30 starts were fantastic for this ball club this last year. But it wasn't as if he was completely irreplaceable for those 30 starts, because he was good, not great. And I think that they've got some talent in the system that could be great, and they could take those starts over and turn them into greatness. And on top of that is the arbitration number that some have at 11, some have at 12, some have at 13. Point being, that will be the highest paid player on the team this next season. And as we discussed last week on the show, there's just not enough of the available space to then say, let's continue holding on to the surplus while other areas of the team suffer.
Yeah, and if you look at Brady's numbers, I mean, perfectly adequate number 3 guy. He was who he's always been. His walks per 9, I like to look at walks per 9, strikeouts per 9, Jeff. His walks per 9 were up just a tick. He went up to 3.2. That's the first time he had been over 3 in several years. His strikeouts per 9 were just kind of who he is, 8.6. He was 8.5 the year before, 7.5 the year before that. It's just kind of who he is. He gets a few strikeouts. He's not mowing guys down. He's given up a few free passes here and there, but a very adequate number 3 guy is good for 32 starts a year. That makes him valuable, but it also makes him tradable, because I, like you, believe there are guys either coming back from injury or already in the system waiting for their chance that can replace those numbers. And I understand there's innings limits, and I understand why there are some clutching of pearls about trading Brady Singer, but I don't buy into it. I think the Reds have, maybe if you squint, 10 guys that we can talk about, if you include Brady Singer, 10 guys that are major league capable starting pitchers on the 2026 team.
Yeah.
One of those guys is tradable, and I think Brady Singer is your dude.
Well, and the other part of this is the fact that the Reds have said multiple different times that they want to be a pitching factory. That is their goal here, is that they are able to draft and develop from within a good pitching staff. There's multiple reasons as to why. We've talked about this before, that probably the biggest reason is luring a free agent pitcher to Great American Small Park just isn't that feasible. So if you can draft and develop them, well, then they're here for at least 5 or 6 years. So on top of all of that, they have done a really good job at their goal. They have created the kind of organization that people look at from outside and say, boy, these guys know how to develop some pitching. But they've got some issues in their lineup. So you know what you do? You take your pitching factory and you go get yourself something to help out the needs on the rest of your roster, because I just feel like there's a chance here for them to build the necessary team, not just to sneak on into the last wild card spot, but to win this division. But if you do not get that big guy, that big bat in the middle of the order, then you're not in that conversation.
This is where Reds fans are going to have to evolve a little bit. Reds fans are going to have to adjust a little bit, because we're now fully drifting into the territory that Nick Krall has been trying to prepare everybody for, which is the Tampa Ray model of churn, right? We're going to see that with Brady Singer. We're probably going to see that with Tyler Stevenson. And listen, these are not guys that I want to trade. I'm not saying I want to trade Ty Steve. I want to trade Brady Singer. I'm saying we have chosen to follow a team that is not the Los Angeles Deferrals, that is not the New York Mets, that is not going to go spend $400 million on payroll. And that means if they're going to resupply, if they're going to restock, if they're going to bring in new talent, they're going to have to trade guys when they reach the end of their arbitration control. And that's where we're at with these dudes. That makes Brady Singer, for me, the prime trade piece that the Reds can use this offseason to try and go get something. And I'm pretty sure that's what Nick Krall is going to do. I think when the dust settles, that will be what has happened.
That would be like if somebody were to ask him, like, hey, I heard a rumor about Brady Singer possibly being traded. That would be a silly thing for him to be like, no, not going to happen. Because it's clear you can reallocate the money that you would spend on Brady Singer toward a need in the middle of your lineup. And with that being said, if you're going to trade Brady Singer, you're going to have to fill his spot. The good news is the Reds are spoiled for choice in this regard, and we'll tell you why coming up next. There's a great offer over on FanDuel right now to get started, and that is if you place a $5 wager and it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets if that's your first winning $5 wager on FanDuel. And there's so much going on right now, whether it's football, you've got the NFL and college football, of course. Bearcats are doing well, and the Bengals are playing too. And then you can also check out the playoffs, everything going on around the playoffs. And right now the Dodgers are favored to do everything possible. So if you bet on anybody that's not the Dodgers, you're going to get a much better value on that, whether it's whoever it is. If it's not the Dodgers, they're a much better value right now over on FanDuel. Plus, you can always get into the in-game props of who's going to hit a home run, who's going to steal a base, who's going to get the most strikeouts, so on and so forth. FanDuel's got you covered all the way. And even when you're on football, you can do those props there for passing yards and rushing touchdowns. All the great stuff is on FanDuel right now. Download the FanDuel app. And again, new users with your first winning $5 wager can get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today.
You think there's any truth to the rumor that Ensure is going to be the new official drink of Joe Flacco and the Cincinnati Bengals? I need to ask James Rapine over at Locked On Bengals about that. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, you can listen to us on every single podcasting app. Oh, Jeff. Wow. I see what you did there. You can catch us on every single audio podcasting app available out there. We're on pretty much all of them. Check us out if you can't watch us here on YouTube. Also, check out Locked On MLB. You got Game Night watching every single game. You got Paul Francis Sullivan giving you a national perspective of the league. You got it all right there. Locked On MLB. All right, Jeff.
I was just thinking that I heard an uptick of Depends commercials on local radio, and it coincides with the time of trading Joe Flacco. Or trading
Centrum. Listen, the marketing options are endless. Centrum Silver for vitamins, Depends for some poise, Ensure for nutrition. And listen,
the biggest brand of reading glasses.
You don't think Mike Brown would love to have like an Ensure spread for the craft table there in the locker room? I mean, he's probably got the stuff piled up in his closet at home. He wouldn't even have to pay for it.
For more, check out Locked On Bengals.
We got to clip this and send it to James Rapine. All right, let's dive back into this, Jeff, because if they're going to trade Brady Singer, and I think they should, and I think you think they should, that does mean that there's a spot in the rotation, but it doesn't. Let me tell you why. I'm not even factoring Brady Singer in the 2026 rotation. Assuming health on opening day, it's Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, Chase Burns, Rhett Lowder. Those are my five that I'm saying the Reds break camp with. That doesn't even begin to talk about the fact that Julian Aguilar is coming back and going to be available from his injury. That doesn't say anything about Brandon Williamson coming back and being available from his injury. I don't think they put both of those guys in the bullpen, so somebody's going to be in Louisville and stretched out. That doesn't say anything about Chase Petty, who I know had a couple rough goings there, but I still think he's in the long term. Still a long-term plan for the Cincinnati Reds. So there's another guy that'll be in Louisville and stretched out, and the list goes on. There's guys that are going to be available. So, and I never said Brady Singer's name there. So I feel like that those five that I mentioned, that is the on paper right now for me best version of the rotation they can break camp with in 2026. And then you've still got these other parts that we haven't even really figured out what the Reds are going to do with. I think Brandon Williamson ends up as a lefty in this bullpen, which makes Sam Moll expendable, and you don't have to bring him back and hope that he reverts to some version of his former self. So,
right.
And it wouldn't take a whole lot to stretch Brandon Williamson out either. If Terry Francona holds true to form, he'll work him as a starter in spring training before sticking him in the bullpen, and he'll have the ability to pitch multiple innings out of the bullpen. So, that helps you cover innings. That helps you piggyback off of Lowder and Burns, who may not necessarily be going 6 or 7 innings in their first 2 months of action coming back, and you save innings that way. So there's lots of things you can do that don't necessarily involve needing another starter per se. There's ways to limit the innings along the way. So I think the Reds have what they need on hand already to trade a starting pitcher and still be all right.
And that still follows with the other argument side of this, where they're just like, well, but isn't Burns and Lowder going to be on some sort of like innings limit this year? And yeah, you're probably right about that. But I also think that they were more aggressive than I expected them to be with Chase Burns' inning limit last year. So I don't expect that that's going to be a very conservative number on him. Likewise, I think with Rhett Lowder, as long as he proves that he's healthy, I don't think there's going to be an issue there as well. Like, I think that at some point you might need to do like a little maintenance IL stint. But like we said, there's like 3 guys that you could bring up in his place and do that with. I really feel like the Reds have built themselves to a point when it comes to the pitching side of things, the starting pitching especially, that you can feel confident in the guy in the next man up. Like, gone are the days where we're talking about the Asher Wojciechowskis of the world and the just name a random starter who got some starting time. Brandon Liebrandt and like Matt. I forgot his name for a second. Anyway, there's these random guys that you can name from years past that they'd come up, they'd start. You're like, who is this guy? Then you wouldn't see him again for the rest of the year because he literally was here for a maintenance start for somebody else. They've got guys that you can trust to do that sort of thing now.
I'm looking at Chase Burns' numbers right now, and he threw 100 and between 110 and 120 innings this year. If you take all of his work, all of the minor league work, his starts in Cincinnati, and then his few appearances out of the bullpen for the Reds. So, you project that out. He's easily good for 130 to 150 innings next year.
And it feels like 130 would be really conservative. Like, I think it's closer to 150.
Right. So, and at 150 innings, now you're talking about not really having to limit Chase Burns all that much, Jeff. I mean, just for comparison's sake, if you're looking at Brady Singer's numbers for the last season, Mr. Consistency, Mr. 32 starts, he was in 170. So that's only a few more starts. So it's not that big a deal. Rhett Lowder, on the other hand, I think will be much more limited, coming over a year where he didn't pitch very much. I know he's out in the Arizona Fall League right now, getting a little bit of work in. They'll be much more conservative with him, your 5th starter, than they would be with Chase Burns, I think. So I'm not as worried about Chase Burns.
But you can then put in Williamson whenever you want to give Lowder a little bit of maintenance and not even miss the left-handed beat. You can bring in Aguiar or give Chase Petty another look, or there's going to be other guys that are coming up too. Like, there's I think it's Jose Franco is the guy's name. He's looking really good. There's some different Jose Acuna as well. Like, some different guys that I think will also be part of this equation. We're just looking at the names that we know, and there's still plenty of talent that's moving up through this system. So I'm not worried at all about how they backfill, because I've seen that point where, somebody was talking about the idea of like, how could you trade any of these pitchers? And it's just like, well, because there are guys to step up in those places. It's not as if you trade Brady Singer and then all of a sudden you just have 4 starting pitchers. Right? You lose that 5th guy. It's like, no, that doesn't happen. Like, there's guys that can step up in the spot. And it's because the Reds have built their pitching development system as well as they have, that they're now in a position to do this.
Every scout we've ever talked to, we've asked the question, all they're doing is drafting pitchers and shortstops. What's going on? And every scout has been like, well, your hope is you then take those extra pitchers and those extra shortstops and you go out and get what you need. That time has arrived.
Yeah, the time has arrived. Go get them, Nick. Go get them. And that's where we will end today's podcast. The time has arrived in today's podcast. Thank you so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Like we've mentioned before, make sure you're subscribed, be an everydayer. We're going to be with you all throughout the offseason as the Reds get ready to get busy in the offseason and the hot stove as it gets all warmed up and nice and toasty, ready to go here. Coming up on tomorrow's episode, we're going to talk about the fact that the Reds have their right fielder, and his name is Noel V. Marte. Make sure you don't miss that. And now that we're done here today, make sure you go check out Locked On MLB, whether it's with Sully or with MLB Game Night. They've got you covered all throughout the league every single day. That's the Locked On MLB feed, just like Locked On Reds. It's on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. But as for Steve and myself, you know that we will be Locked On Reds every single day.
I pissed off Ellie this week, and now Joe Flacco, who's my target tomorrow.
I don't think Joe Flacco's mad. I don't think Joe Flacco gets mad at anybody.